What happens when a millionaire hears a hauntingly familiar song from a little girl cleaning his car? Stay with True Story to uncover a tale of loss and hope. On the sidewalk of a gas station, a little girl carefully wipes down the hood of a luxury car. The millionaire, watching from the window, thinks about telling her to stop, until he hears the song she's softly singing. It's the same song his daughter used to sing with her mother before the accident. It's just another overcast morning in Seattle, but something in the air feels heavier than usual. In the side parking lot of an old gas station, wedged between a roadside diner and a rundown car wash, a little girl leans over the hood of a black Bentley Continental GT, polished to showroom shine. She isn't supposed to be there. No uniform, no permission, no adult in sight. But she scrubs carefully, like the car is a sacred relic. From the driver's seat behind the tinted window, Henry Caldwell watches in silence. Impeccable suit, $500,000 Swiss watch on his wrist, eyes lost. He's just left an investor meeting that would have made any other man celebrate. But Henry feels nothing. Ever since the accident, there's nothing left to feel. He thinks about honking, startling her, rolling the window down and telling her to stop. But then he hears it. A thin voice, barely a whisper, a melody he hasn't heard in years. The words come softly, like memories whispered by ghosts. A children's song. Not just any song. That song. The one his daughter used to sing with her mother on Sunday mornings, when he pretended to sleep just to hear them laughing in the kitchen. His throat clenches. No, it can't be. It's impossible. Can a song from the past unravel a mystery that changes everything? Keep watching True Story to find out. The girl, still focused on the hood, keeps humming. Bare feet on the cold sidewalk, small hands wrapped in a cloth that looks like an old t-shirt, she sings with her eyes closed, and there's something in her tone, not just the lyrics, but the way each word carries a raw, unmistakable tenderness that makes Henry's heart pound for the first time in months. He opens the car door with a sharp click. His footsteps on the concrete echo louder than they should have. The girl flinches. She looks at him like someone facing a king or a monster, but she doesn't back away, doesn't apologize. She just stops singing. Where did you learn that song? His voice comes out rougher than he intends. She looks at him for a moment, big dark eyes locked onto his, dust on her cheeks, a smudge of oil on her forehead, but her voice is steady. My mom used to sing it to me before she left. Henry feels the world spin. This can't be happening. It has to be some cruel joke, or maybe a sign. What's your mother's name? She hesitates. Her eyes flick toward the station entrance, then back to him. Abigail. Abigail Moore. And in that moment, everything collapses. Henry staggers a step backward. The air leaves his lungs. This isn't real. Abigail Moore. The same name carved into the headstone where he buried his wife. But their daughter had died with her, hadn't she? That's what they told him. That's what he'd believed all these years. But then he hears that voice. The girl, now with her eyes squeezed shut like she's bracing for the world, begins to sing again. The same melody, the same tone. But this time, there's a note of pain that hadn't been there before, as if her voice already knows what it's about to awaken in him. He drops to his knees, the concrete tearing his tailored pants, but he doesn't care. Tears come before he can stop them. A silent avalanche. She stops singing. Mister, are you okay? Henry looks up, eyes blurred. He doesn't answer, because the question that matters hasn't been asked yet. Who is this girl, really? And why does every part of him scream that she isn't a stranger? Her name keeps echoing in his mind as reality fractures into disconnected pieces. Abigail Moore. Impossible. Like a ghost has come back to life in broad daylight, under the muffled sound of cars speeding by on the nearby highway. Henry Caldwell is known as a titan of finance. A man made of stone. They say, president of one of the largest investment firms on the West Coast. Net worth close to $980 million. Magazine covers, international conferences, advisor to billionaires. But no one knows this same man spends sleepless nights staring at the ceiling, haunted by the eyes of a daughter he never got to see grow up. Chloe. The name still burns. She was 5 when the car skidded on the bridge. Abigail was driving. It was a rainy morning, like most in Seattle, and the news said she lost control. The firefighters found Abigail's body in the front seat, but there was no sign of the child. Authorities concluded the current had carried her away. No body ever found. They buried an empty coffin, and with it, Henry buried what remained of his soul. For years, he drowned himself in work, as if chasing success could avenge the pain. Investment funds, meetings, billion-dollar deals. The more he climbed, the further he drifted from the memory of Abigail and Chloe. But that wasn't healing. That was fear. And now, in this forgotten gas station, he's face to face with a child who has the same big dark eyes as the daughter he lost. Her name is Lily, she says after a long pause. Lily Moore. She's 7, or at least she thinks she is. She lives with an old woman named Miriam, who took her in after she was dropped off at a shelter in Tacoma 2 years ago. No one knew who her parents were. She just showed up one day with a tiny backpack, a bald doll, and a crumpled note that said, "Please take care of her." "Do you remember your mom?" Henry asks, trying to keep his voice steady. She gently shakes her head. Just the way she used to sing, like the song I was singing. With every word, something inside Henry breaks. It feels like time is stitching old wounds shut with glass thread. But there's more than pain. There's a flicker of something unwelcome. Hope. A part of him, long buried under grief and cynicism, is starting to wonder the impossible. But there's something else he needs to know. Do you have anything from your mother? Any keepsake? Lily thinks for a moment, then reaches into the back pocket of her jeans and pulls out a piece of folded paper, worn with care. She hands it to him. Henry opens it with trembling hands. It's a child's drawing, a yellow sun, a green field, a house with a crooked tree beside it, and in the bottom corner, in a child's handwriting, Mommy, me, and Daddy. He can't breathe. You drew this? She nods. Miriam said I found it in my backpack when I got there. I don't remember making it, but I think it's pretty. At that moment, Henry knows he has to find the truth, no matter how much it hurts. Because if there's even the smallest chance that this girl is his daughter, he can't walk away again. His phone rings. It's Gerald, his personal assistant. Mr. Caldwell, the jet is ready. We need to leave now if you want to make it to New York on time. He hangs up without answering. Lily watches him in silence, like someone who's already learned that grown-ups always leave. But Henry stays. For the first time in years, he stays. Are you hungry? He asks, swallowing hard. Her eyes light up, a brief spark, as if that simple gesture is everything she's been waiting to hear. And in that brief moment of connection, something inside him begins to shift. But what he doesn't know yet is that Miriam holds a secret that will change everything. At the roadside diner where they stop, the smell of burnt bacon mingles with the low hum of an old jukebox, stubbornly playing 80s classics. Lily chooses a booth by the window, her feet swinging in the air, not quite reaching the floor. Henry sits across from her, but it feels like facing a broken mirror. Each fragment of her reflects something lost within him, something he isn't sure he wants to find again. She devours the sandwich like she hasn't eaten in days. And maybe she hasn't. Henry watches every movement with uneasy attention. The way she wrinkles her nose while chewing. The way she counts her fries before eating them. They're the same habits Chloe used to have. But he can't let himself be fooled by coincidences. Coincidences don't bring back the dead. Or do they? His mind tries to rationalize every second. It's easier to believe this is all a hallucination, a guilt-induced illusion. Maybe he's projecting his grief onto a random child. Maybe loss has warped his perception. But the problem is his heart. And his heart, once skeptical, once armored, is now beating in a way he can't explain. Have you ever been here before? He asks, trying to hide his anxiety. She looks around. No, just the pictures on the wall. One of them looks like my old school. You remember the name of the school? She thinks for a moment, eyes drifting off. I think it had something with mountain, like Green Mountain. Henry freezes. The preschool Chloe attended before the accident was called Greenmount Academy. And then he hears it, an alarm blaring across the street. Not the kind of sound that would normally draw attention, but in that moment, it feels like a warning, a jarring reminder that time is passing, and this could all still be a cruel mistake. He stands up abruptly. I need to make a call. I'll be right back. She nods shyly and continues eating alone. Outside, Henry leans against the wall of the diner and dials Gerald's number. His voice comes out sharp, urgent. I need you to find everything you can about a girl named Lily Moore, about 7 years old. She was dropped off at a shelter in Tacoma 2 years ago. Find out who brought her in, under what name, any records. And one more thing, check for any inconsistencies in Abigail's accident report. I need to know if there's any chance Chloe could be alive. Gerald is silent for a few seconds. Mr. Caldwell, is this serious? I've never been more serious. But there's something Henry doesn't know, and something Gerald can't possibly predict. Because while Henry is on the phone, across the city, a tired-looking woman in a flour-stained apron is sliding an old photo into an envelope. The picture shows Abigail and Chloe together, and on the back, in shaky handwriting, "Forgive me." And Miriam, the woman who raised Lily, is holding the envelope with trembling hands. Inside the diner, Lily stares out the window, waiting for Henry to return. Her eyes hold no fear, just a strange calm, like someone who, for the first time, senses that something important is about to happen. Henry hangs up the phone and returns to the table. He sits in silence. She looks at him with a faint smile. Are you going to take me somewhere? He hesitates. Maybe, if you want to go. But I don't know you. He takes a deep breath. That's true, but the ache in his chest says otherwise. To be honest, I don't really know myself either. She laughs softly. That sound is exactly like Chloe's. It's unbearable. Lily, if I asked you to take a DNA test, would you do it? She frowns, confused. Does it hurt? It's just a swab inside your cheek, real quick. She thinks for a moment, then nods. Okay, but only if you tell me something first. What is it? Why did you cry when you heard me singing? He swallows hard and realizes he doesn't know how to answer. Because the truth is more than he's ready to face. Just then, his phone vibrates with a message from Gerald. And what he reads freezes his blood. Gerald's message is short, but every word feels carved in ice. Henry, I found something. The child brought to the shelter in Tacoma had no documents, just the note and the drawing. She was registered as Lily Moore, but the woman who dropped her off used a false name. We're working to identify her now. Also, there are inconsistencies in Abigail's autopsy. I'm sending everything to your email. Henry feels his fingers go numb. The world spins, but he remains still, sitting across from a child who might be his daughter. A daughter he believed had been lost to the river more than 2 years ago. But one question haunts him more than all the others. Why didn't anyone tell him? How could Chloe's body never be found and still be declared dead with such certainty? And more importantly, who had access to her? And why would they hide her? He closes his eyes for a moment, trying to organize the chaos in his mind. When he opens them again, Lily is watching him, calm, like someone watching a man drown from afar. You're really pale, mister. He forces a smile. Just a little dizzy. It'll pass. You seem sad all the time, even when you smile. That hits like a knife. So do you, Lily? She looks down at her hands, embarrassed. It's just, sometimes I miss someone I don't remember. The silence between them is so heavy, it muffles every other sound. But outside, something changes. A black car with tinted windows pulls into the far corner of the gas station. It doesn't draw attention. But Henry notices, and his instincts, the same ones that have kept him alive in boardrooms full of predators, flare. Lily, finish your juice. We're leaving in 5 minutes. Okay. She nods, unaware of the urgency. Outside, two men get out of the car. One speaks on the phone, the other scans the diner discreetly. Something is wrong. Very wrong. Henry places cash on the table and takes Lily by the hand, trying to stay calm. Change of plans. We're heading to the car now. She doesn't resist, but asks in a quiet voice, "Are we running away?" Not yet, but maybe soon. They cross the parking lot quickly, and Henry buckles her into the passenger seat with trembling hands. Before he can get in on his side, he looks back and sees one of the men walking toward them fast. He starts the engine and pulls out in the Bentley before the man can get close enough to see their faces. The open road ahead gives him a breath of relief, but adrenaline makes his breathing shallow and fast. Lily stares out the window, her face serious. Who were those men? Henry takes a long time to answer. I don't know yet, but I will. His mind races with possibilities. If someone had hidden Chloe and left her at a shelter, there were motives involved. Maybe blackmail, maybe something worse. What if the woman who left her was Miriam? Or worse, someone paid by Miriam. But then he remembers the envelope. The photo, the words "forgive me." He needs to find her. He needs answers, and fast. Lily, do you have Miriam's phone number? She shakes her head. But I know the way to her house. It's near a church. The one with the bell that rings 3 times in the afternoon. Henry grips the steering wheel tightly. It isn't much, but it's all they have. He pulls up the GPS and starts mapping routes near active bell towers in the South Tacoma area. Meanwhile, his phone chimes with new emails from Gerald, including scanned documents. One of them is Abigail's death certificate. Another, the autopsy report. Both show mismatched signatures between the originals and the copies archived at the hospital. This isn't just negligence. It's forgery. It's a cover-up. Lily, are you afraid of anyone? She takes a long time to answer, then says, almost in a whisper, sometimes Miriam would talk to someone on the phone and cry afterward. Henry feels a knot tighten in his gut. He's sure they're being followed, and time is running out. He looks over at her, so small in the passenger seat, the seatbelt cinched too tightly for her frame. The daughter who might have come back from the dead, or maybe just a mirror of his grief. Either way, it's his responsibility now to protect her. And if someone is trying to stop him from learning the truth, it means the truth is too big to be revealed. But he has no idea what Miriam is about to confess. Tacoma appears on the horizon, with the melancholy of a city that never quite healed from its ghosts. Heavy clouds, cold wind cutting through wide, empty streets. Everything looks like a stage being set for something that won't end peacefully. Henry follows every scrap of memory Lily can recall. The church bell rings in the distance. 3 slow chimes, like time itself announcing the inevitable. The house is modest. Weathered wood, peeling paint, a yard overgrown with weeds. Miriam lives there alone. At least, that's what the records show. When Lily points and says, "That's the one," Henry feels his pulse pound like a war drum in his head. "Wait in the car," he says, opening the door. "Are you going to yell at her?" She asks, eyes wide. He hesitates. "No, I just need answers." Every step toward the front door feels like diving deeper into an abyss. He knocks 3 times. Silence. Then a shadow moves behind the curtain. Miriam opens the door slowly. She looks older than the single photo he's seen in the shelter file. Thin face, sunken eyes, trembling hands clutching the same envelope she can no longer hide. "Henry Caldwell," she says, voice breaking. "I knew this day would come. Is she my daughter?" The question comes out cold. No ceremony. He has no more time or patience for games. She swallows hard, her eyes brim with tears. "Please, come in." The living room is small, with old furniture, the smell of dust and stale bread in the air. Miriam sits down with difficulty and motions to the chair across from her, but Henry stays standing. "I was there," she begins, fingers wrapped tightly around the envelope like it's a shield. "I worked in the ER the day they brought your wife in. The little girl was with her, alive, shaken, scratched up, and then someone showed up. A man. He claimed to be a relative, had documents, said you had authorized him to take custody. Henry's chest tightens. That never happened. I would never. He stops himself, the fury tangled with confusion. I know, Miriam whispers, looking down. I realized days later the documents were fake. But it was too late. The child was gone. And then, 2 years ago, someone left her at the shelter where I was volunteering. She was dirty, scared, holding the same drawing in her hands. Why didn't you call the police? I was afraid. Her voice cracks. Afraid that if I told someone, she'd disappear again. I tried to take care of her. I gave her everything I could. But the guilt, it's eaten me alive every day. Who was the man? Henry presses. Do you remember his face? His name? She opens the envelope with trembling fingers and pulls out a faded photo. Hospital security footage. A man in a black cap, sunglasses, holding a child in his arms, face partially visible. But Henry knows that jawline, that posture. My God, he mutters. James Whittaker, former business partner, expelled from the firm after a massive embezzlement scandal. Henry had turned him in, destroyed his career, and now it all makes sense. This was revenge, calculated, cold. He took her, Henry says. And when he couldn't get what he wanted, he threw her away. Miriam nods, tears now falling freely. I'm so sorry. I tried to protect her. I gave her everything I could. Henry takes a step back. The walls feel like they're closing in. The truth is more brutal than he'd imagined. Chloe Lilly had been used as a pawn in a dirty game between powerful men. And now she's sitting in the car, waiting for him to tell her what to do with the world. Then they hear it, tires screeching outside. Henry runs to the window. A black SUV is skidding into the street. 3 men jump out. One of them, James. Take her out the back now, he shouts to Miriam. She doesn't hesitate. Henry steps out the front door alone, his chest full of rage and pain. James Whittaker walks toward him with the same smug smile he wore years ago. Well, looking for your daughter, Henry? You have 10 seconds to tell me why I shouldn't kill you right here. James chuckles. Because I'm not done with you yet. Then 2 men close in. Henry knows it's just the beginning. The first punch comes without warning. It splits his lip like an invisible blade. The second brings him to his knees on the cold pavement, but he doesn't scream, doesn't beg. The physical pain is nothing compared to what he's carried inside. James steps closer, slow and smug, wearing the same kind of grin he used to wear while lying in boardrooms with his Hermes ties. But this isn't a negotiation. There are no contracts here, only blood on the asphalt and the return of an old hatred. You were always too arrogant, Henry, James whispers, crouching so only Henry can hear. You thought you could destroy me and move on like you were untouchable. But now I've destroyed you. Henry spits on the ground, the taste of blood and humiliation thick in his mouth. You kidnapped a child, used a life just to settle a score. That's not justice. That's cowardice. James grins wider. It wasn't just revenge. It was proof that there's no such thing as justice in your world. Only winners and survivors. The men drag Henry toward the car. He fights, but his body is failing. Every movement burns. The Bentley is only a few yards away, but it might as well be miles. And Lily, where is she now? Desperation creeps in like slow-acting poison. What if he hasn't been fast enough? What if Miriam hasn't made it out? What if, after everything, the daughter he's just found is taken from him again? But then he hears it, a scream, faint but unmistakable. Daddy! The word slices through the night like an arrow. He looks around, blood dripping from his forehead, vision blurred. And then he sees her. Lily is running along the side of the house, her hair wild, her eyes wide with terror. Behind her, one of the thugs, a brute in a gray jacket, charges forward like a predator unleashed. "No!" Henry shouts, trying to stand. James kicks him back down, hard in the chest. "You've already lost. Accept it." But Henry doesn't. Fueled by something primal, he rolls sideways, kicks one of the men in the shin, making him stumble. He uses the split second to get halfway up and grabs a loose stone from the ground, hurling it at the other man's face. It isn't strength. It's desperation. And for a moment, it works. Lily runs into his arms, tears streaming, her whole body trembling. "Daddy, he was going to take me." Henry holds her tight, shielding her with his body, bloodied, beaten, but unyielding. Then the cold touch of a gun barrel presses to the back of his neck. "Game over," James says, his voice still cold. And in that moment, a siren pierces the night. Red and blue lights flood the street. A neighbor, alarmed by the chaos, has called the police. James' men hesitate. One runs. Another tries to hide, but James doesn't. He stands still, the gun still in his hand, eyes locked on Henry with the expression of a man who's lost everything again. "This isn't over," he mutters, dropping the gun and raising his hands. The officers surround him, cuffing him with no gentleness. One helps Henry to his feet, another kneels beside Lily, trying to calm her down, but the damage is done. Henry is taken away by ambulance, Lily in a separate car, escorted by a social worker. They won't let them be together. Standard procedure, they say. They have to verify the relationship, ensure safety. And just like that, he loses Chloe again. At the hospital, lying under cold fluorescent lights, ribs bruised and soul shattered, Henry stares at the ceiling, just like in the old days. But this time, something is different. Lily's image, her dirt-streaked face, her eyes full of unspoken questions, haunts him. A nurse enters, carrying a sealed envelope. "This came for you from someone named Gerald." He opens it with bandaged hands. Inside is the DNA test result. Confirmed. Probability of paternity, 99.999%. The tears come without permission, but they don't bring relief, because the document only confirms what he already knows, and also what he fears most, that he's failed again. And maybe this time, with no way to fix it. 2 days pass. At the hospital, Henry spends the hours staring at the door, hoping it will open, hoping Lily will run in like a child coming home from a nightmare. But nothing happens. The system has its rules, its slowness, its cold bureaucratic pace. And Lily is now a case under state review. But then, on the afternoon of the third day, she arrives, not alone. She's with a social worker named Claire, a woman with steady eyes and careful movements. Lily enters shyly, clutching a blue notebook to her chest. "You have 10 minutes, Claire says. No physical contact, no promises. Custody is still under judicial review." Henry nods slightly. He doesn't care about the conditions. He just wants to see her again. Lily walks slowly, eyes focused on the bandages on his face. She stops beside the bed. "Hi." Henry smiles, a smile full of sadness. "Hi, Lily. You feeling better?" "A little. Every time I see you, I feel a little more whole." She looks down, fiddling with the notebook's corner. There's so much silence between them, and yet everything has been said. "They asked if I wanted to go live in another house," she whispers. Henry holds his breath. "And what did you say?" She looks into his eyes. And for the first time, there's something new there. A decision, a small, unshakable courage. "I said I wanted to stay with you." It's like being hugged all the way to the bone. "Lily," he whispers, his throat tightening. "But they said you're not really my dad because you didn't raise me." He nods slowly. "They're right. I wasn't there when I should have been. I wasn't there when you fell, or when you were scared at night. I failed. But if they let me, I want to learn how to be now." She bites her lower lip, wrestling with something inside, then holds out the notebook. "I drew you. Want to see?" He takes the notebook with trembling hands and opens it. The first drawing shows him and her in a park. They're holding hands. A dog stands beside them, even though they've never talked about dogs. But in that childish sketch, there's something he's never found in any stock market win or $1 million contract. Belonging. I was never any good at drawing, he says. You're good at hugging, she replies. Silence returns. But this time, it's sweet, like the sound of something slowly being rebuilt. Claire glances discreetly at her watch but doesn't interrupt. She sees something that can't be ignored. Two strangers trying to become family, carefully, like handling broken glass. Lily, would you let me try to be what you need, even if I make mistakes? She hesitates, then smiles. I think you're already trying. That's more than I had before. Henry holds the notebook to his chest like it's treasure, because in that moment, it is. Claire steps forward. Time's up, Lily. She nods. But before leaving, she turns back to him. When we have a house, can we get a dog? Henry laughs for the first time in months. A real laugh, from deep inside. I promise we'll figure that out together. She walks out with Claire, and he's alone again. But this time, he has something new. Hope. Because in the end, it isn't about DNA or legal documents. It's about the choice you make every single day to show up, to try, to love, even if you're afraid. And Henry is finally ready for that. But what he doesn't know yet is that the court is divided, and someone very powerful is working to keep them apart. The county courtroom is cold and impersonal. Dark wood panels do little to warm the air or the tension. The judge, a gray-haired woman with an expression hardened by time, sits high above them all, like a goddess deciding the fate of mortals locked in conflict. Henry sits in a charcoal gray suit, unshaven but steady-eyed. Next to him, his attorney, a renowned family law expert with a reputation for being ruthless in court. Across the room, the child services attorney reads through her reports like a coroner, clinical, cold, emotionless. Lily isn't in the courtroom that day. It's part of the strategy to spare her from more trauma. But everything spoken there, every word recorded in the court transcript, will determine whether or not Henry can be officially recognized as her father, despite the DNA, despite the story, despite everything they've been through together. Mr. Caldwell, the judge begins, the department has expressed concern over your recent emotional instability, the altercation with the alleged kidnappers, the circumstances surrounding your search for Lily, and the fact that she lived for 2 years under someone else's care. What do you have to say to that? Henry stands calmly, takes a deep breath, and speaks. Your Honor, I've made mistakes, many. I neglected life when it needed me most. When I lost my wife, I also lost the will to go on. And when they told me my daughter had died, I accepted it as punishment, as if the universe was correcting me for everything I'd failed to do. He pauses, scanning the room. But for some reason, life gave me a second chance. Not to fix the past, but to do better now. Lily doesn't need a hero. She needs someone who stays, who chooses her every single day. And that's what I'm doing. The judge's expression stays neutral, but something shifts in her eyes. A flicker of emotion. And what about Mr. James Whittaker? She asks. We now know he was responsible for Lily's disappearance, and that he was once your business partner. What kept you from suspecting him? Grief blinds you, Your Honor, and so does trusting the wrong people. The prosecutor steps in, raising concerns about the risk of Lily experiencing further emotional instability. But Henry's attorney responds, Your Honor, we'd like to submit a statement from Dr. Susan Reinhardt, the child psychologist who evaluated Lily over the last 2 days. The judge nods. The letter is read aloud. In it, Dr. Reinhardt writes that Lily has formed a secure, spontaneous, and reparative bond with Henry, describing their relationship as a mutual healing process. She warns that separating them now could result in new psychological trauma, potentially causing irreversible damage to the child's sense of self-worth. The courtroom falls silent. And then the doors open. Miriam walks in. The woman who once hid Lily now carries something different in her eyes. Peace. She steps to the center of the room and requests permission to speak. The judge, reluctant, allows it. I lived with that girl for 2 years, Miriam says, her voice steady. I saw her grow, dream, cry, and never, not once, did I hear her call anyone dad until she met Henry. All eyes are on her. I made a mistake keeping the truth from him. But I saw her find something in him I could never give her. A real home. She chose him, and sometimes we have to respect a child's choice, because they see things we adults try to ignore. The judge takes a deep breath, then declares, a decision will be issued in 48 hours. Court is adjourned. Outside, Henry finds Lily in the courtyard, drawing on the pavement with crayons. She looks at him like she already knows everything without hearing a single word. Is it going to be okay? She asks. He kneels down, ignoring the pain in his ribs. We already are okay. Now, we're just waiting for the paperwork to catch up. She smiles and hands him a new drawing, the two of them in a house, a dog by their side, and above the roof, one word written in big, uneven letters. Family. But what Henry doesn't know is that James Whittaker isn't finished. That night, Henry can't sleep. Despite the upcoming court decision, something deep in his chest whispers that danger still lingers. An old instinct, sharpened by years among corporate sharks and backstabbing diplomacy, has awakened again. But now the enemy doesn't wear a suit. He hides in the shadows, fueled by hate. James Whittaker. Despite his temporary arrest, James has secured a release on a technicality. A procedural failure in his arrest gave him grounds for habeas corpus. He claimed self-defense, twisted the facts, exploited the gaps, and now he's free. The same man who kidnapped Henry's daughter, who left him bleeding on a street. Henry tries to stay calm. Lily is asleep in the guest room of Miriam's house, where they're temporarily living during the custody process. The address has been registered as neutral ground by the court, but nothing about that night feels neutral. Around 2 a.m., Henry gets up. He walks down the hallway, slowly opens Lily's door, and sees her asleep, holding her notebook close to her chest. His heart clenches. It's all too fragile. Too fragile. Then he hears it, a soft click coming from downstairs. His entire body tenses. He creeps down barefoot, silent on the wooden steps. He grabs an old iron rod by the fireplace and moves toward the living room. Nothing, but the back window is slightly open. His breathing grows shallow. Sweat breaks at his temples. Then a shadow moves behind him. Henry turns fast, weapon raised, but the voice stops him cold. If you hit me, you won't hear what I came to say. James is there again. But this time, alone, unarmed. No henchman. Just him, and that smug grin, now cracked at the edges. What do you want? Henry asks, voice low, still holding the rod up. I came to finish what I started, James says. But not the way you think. Henry doesn't answer. He watches. Everything in him screams to strike, but something is off. James looks exhausted. She's your daughter. I know that now, James says, his voice tight. When I took her, I didn't know what I was doing. I wanted to break you, but I ended up holding a little girl in my arms, and she wasn't leverage. She was a mirror. Henry lowers the rod slightly, still on guard. Then why did you do it? James runs a hand across his face. Because you took everything from me, my company, my name. You left me with nothing but headlines calling me a thief. I wanted you to taste loss. And you did. But so did I. Silence. She called me the quiet man, James continues. Because I never talked, just drove, brought food, turned on cartoons. I was hiding her, but she calmed me. And that broke me. Henry steps closer. Why are you here, James? Because someone's going to try and stop you tomorrow. Someone from the system. Big names, judges, prosecutors, people who knew about the cover-up. If this hits the press, they go down. Henry's blood turns cold. And how do you know that? James lets out a bitter laugh. Because I was part of it until yesterday. Why tell me now? James hesitates, then glances out the window into the night. Because, for the first time in my life, I want to do something right, even if it's too late. He places a USB drive on the table. It's all there. Recordings, emails, proof. It'll get you full custody, clear your daughter's name, and ruin theirs. He pauses. I just want to disappear after this. Henry stands frozen, his heart pounding like war drums in his chest. James turns and walks toward the door. If you report me, I understand, but if you don't, maybe she'll grow up in a world with a little less hate. And then he vanishes into the night. Henry looks at the flash drive like someone staring at the key to something sacred. Upstairs, Lily is still asleep, innocent, unaware that tomorrow her whole world will change. And Henry already knows what he has to do. It's time to fight like a father, with everything he has. The courtroom is packed. Cameras, journalists, child advocacy groups, onlookers. The story of Henry Caldwell, the tycoon who found the daughter once declared dead and now stands against a broken system, has gone public. And now, every eye is on him. But Henry isn't hiding anymore. He stands before the court, tall and steady, with Lily seated beside him, coloring in her lap with a set of crayons. She wears a pale blue dress, her hair neatly brushed by Miriam that morning, and her gaze holds the quiet peace of someone who, for the first time, feels the world might actually be safe. Across from them sits the new judge, not the same woman from before, but someone newly appointed after accusations of bias in the case. A serious man, known for his integrity, sharp-eyed and attentive. Henry holds the flash drive James left him. Copies have already been submitted to the attorneys, the prosecution, and discreetly to the press. Mr. Caldwell, the judge says, would you like to make a final statement before this court issues its ruling? He stands. Your Honor, this case isn't just about custody. It's about what we choose to do when life gives us another chance. I lost my wife. I lost my daughter. And for a long time, I lost myself. But when I found her again, I realized some stories don't end with a period. They just need someone willing to rewrite them. He pauses, looking at Lily. I'm not here asking for permission to be a father. I'm taking responsibility for being one, because she chose me. And that's all that matters. The judge nods quietly. The prosecutor asks to speak. Her tone is softer now, as if something in her has also cracked under the weight of the evidence. Your Honor, in light of the new material, including recordings implicating members of the judicial system itself, as well as the psychological report and paternity confirmation, the state no longer opposes the transfer of full custody to Mr. Caldwell. In fact, we request that the child's original name be legally restored. The judge reviews the documents, takes a deep breath, and declares, this court hereby recognizes that Lily Moore, birth name Chloe Caldwell, is the legitimate daughter of Henry Caldwell. Full custody is granted. This case is closed. The courtroom buzzes with murmurs. But Henry doesn't hear any of them. All he hears is the scrape of the saw chair beside him as Lily throws her arms around him tightly, like someone who finally understands what it means to no longer run. Daddy, can we go home now? He closes his eyes, tears spilling freely. Yes, sweetheart. We're going home. Outside the courthouse, Miriam waits for them, her smile a mix of relief and quiet sorrow. She's decided to move to a small town to start over. But she knows she'll always be part of Chloe's life. Before leaving, she kneels down and hands the girl a small box. Your mom asked me to save this for you, for someday. Inside is a bracelet, simple gold, engraved by hand. Chloe. Lily holds it gently, then slips it onto her wrist. Can I still be Lily, too? She asks. Henry kneels in front of her. You can be anything you want. Lily, Chloe, you're my miracle. Days later, they're home. A new house, built just for the two of them. In the backyard, a golden retriever puppy chases toys across the grass. His collar reads Sully, her idea. On the porch, Henry sits, writing a letter to Abigail. Today, she called me daddy with ice cream on her lips and dirt on her feet. And for a moment, I heard your laugh riding on the wind. I promise I'll take care of her, with every bit of strength I have left, not because I'm strong, but because she is. And because you taught me what love means. He folds the letter, places it in the bracelet box, and buries it beneath the young tree they've just planted in the yard. And while the dog barks, Chloe runs free, unafraid, with her father beside her. And this time, forever. Don't leave just yet. Tap the next story on screen, subscribe to the True Story channel, and share it with someone who believes in second chances. I'll see you there.